So I'd like to start out my comments this morning with a question. And that question is, can we empower AI and do so sustainably and profitably? And can we do so today, not only tomorrow? Everyone is looking for ways to incorporate AI into their business, into their lives, their personal lives. And yet they're roadblocked in many respects by certain challenges. We're going to be talking about what those challenges are today. And we're going to be breaking down some solutions. Several years ago, a long time ago, I worked for Delta Airlines. You can see the plaque in the background there. One day I showed up to work, and my station manager met me at the door. I was a part-time ticket agent with Delta Airlines. I thought I was in trouble. Come to find out, I was receiving this award called the Delta Customer Service Citation. It's their highest award. I got a gold pin, I got a letter from the CEO, the plaque, and a round-trip ticket anywhere Delta flew, which I gave to my parents. The reason I received this award is worth discussing. See, one day I got off work, and there were these two elderly ladies who had tried to fly standby from Anchorage, Alaska, to Seattle in the middle of the summer. It's a bad idea. The flight's overbooked. It's a bad time to try to get by standby. When I got off work about midnight, they were sitting on a bench. I noticed them and asked them if they had a place to stay. What were their plans? It was late. These were old ladies, about 80s. They said, no, we're just going to stay here tonight. We don't have the funds to stay in a hotel. We're just going to stay here at the airport. And I said, no, you're not. I convinced them to trust me and go home with me. I took them home, put them in my guest room, got them up the next morning, made breakfast, actually took them out and showed them around a little bit, kind of played tour guide, and took them to work with me that afternoon. I did that 3 days in a row because they could not get out. They finally got out on a standby flight, but 3 days of hosting these little old ladies at my house. This illustrates a point that I think is important. Speaking about AI, speaking about anything we do in our business, we have to ask the right questions. I asked them, do you have a place to stay? And then we have to do the right things in the right way. I guess I did that. And so I didn't think much about it. Apparently Delta thought a lot about it. So there are three types of speakers in my experience. Those who have really bombed a presentation in the past, those who say they never have and are probably lying, and those who are going to bomb a presentation in the future, hopefully not today. Why are we here today? The CXO conference is the opportunity to expand our experiences and our relationships by asking the right questions and doing the right things in the right way. I first was introduced to CXO in Las Vegas. I attended their conference earlier this year, and it's about a 20-minute commute from my house. I live in Henderson, Nevada. This commute was a little bit longer. But I was impressed. I was unsure when I showed up. I got to speak on a panel. We received an award. And then I was invited afterwards to come to Dubai and be a keynote speaker. I like what they say on their website. Their mission is to think bigger and to lead smarter. I think that's why we're here, so we can do those things. I think that's what we're all seeking to do. And it's most definitely something that we are seeking to do in AI, to think bigger and to lead smarter, because we can do it right, we can also do it wrong. Okay, now, I'm juggling a remote, a microphone, and these cards. But I'm actually going to do an exercise. As I speak, I'm going to be dropping these cards. And as you see them fluttered to the ground, I want you to think of letting go of preconceived notions, maybe bad habits, practices, etc. Thinking of how you can move into a new way of thinking and maybe a new way of working. Some of the things I share with you today can help. So as I drop my cards and you see them flutter to the ground, think about that. What are you holding on to and what should you let go of? This can help. A key management trait, as I illustrated as this young ticket agent, part-time ticket agent for Delta 30 years ago, was to ask good questions. To remember we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Someone mentioned that on the panel. Think of it like an artichoke, as we're trying to peel back the layers of the artichoke and get to the heart of that person's need or want or worry. In our company, and I'll go into a little bit about what we do and why I'm here, but we help our clients to make more and to keep more. We are a profitability consulting firm. I'm going to be going over today the 3 phases that we believe companies, policymakers, and others need to go to accomplish what they need to accomplish what they're hoping to in AI. The top AI benefits, as we think about AI, let me just throw it out to the audience here. If you had to say what is a benefit of AI, one that you're experiencing right now, maybe you've just heard about it, what is a benefit of AI? Anyone? It's faster, 100%. Anybody else? Increases productivity, most definitely. Fantastic source for research, right? Anything else? Louder, please. I can't hear you, but I'm sure it's a good idea. I put together a short list of benefits. We're not going to go into them right now. In fact, this presentation, we do not have time to go into detail on much of this, but I am going to put up a QR code at the end. You can request the notes if you'd like to. I consider AI, among other things, and if nothing else, as the great equalizer. AI can allow us worldwide equal opportunity. As long as you have access, maybe through Starlink or something like that, but access. And as long as you have Wi-Fi, you can do anything. You can start a business. You can gain education. It can break down language barriers. The list goes on and on. I've heard it said that language barriers should cease to exist in the next few short years because of AI. I heard that Apple's coming out with some AirPods that will instantly translate what you're hearing here soon. I was just in Munich on my way here. I intentionally planned about a 12-hour layover coming through Germany. I wanted to go there for Christmas, their Christmas market. My dad lived there 60 years ago. I've heard about it all my life. I've never been there. And I wanted to stop by. ChatGPT mapped out my whole day. Told me what to go see, where it was, gave me the map, the instructions, the links, everything. And then when I took the wrong train and ended up, I had a great time. But then as I was heading back to the airport to catch my flight here to Dubai, I took the wrong train in the wrong direction and ended up in the middle of nowhere, out in the country in Germany. And I typed it into ChatGPT and said, this is where I am, how do I get back, and am I going to have time to make my flight? And it told me exactly where I was and how to do it. And I made it by the skin of my teeth. I use AI all the time. This is just an example of how I've done so. If you look at these movies, this is a list of movies that kind of scare people about AI. I'm not going to, again, go into detail on these. They'll be in the notes. There are these doomsday scenarios, right, about AI. And as it stands, experts will say it's virtually impossible for a catastrophic doomsday scenario to occur, but people still wonder about that. It's highly unlikely. But there are considerations. These are reasons why it will likely never happen that AI gets out of control, right? This is a list of challenges that we are facing in AI. What do you think, as you look at this list, is the biggest challenge facing us as we develop AI, that's facing investors are facing, policymakers are facing? What do you think is the biggest challenge facing AI today? Anybody know? Ma'am? You're right. You're close. You're absolutely right, but I want to dig into that a little bit more. You in the back, sir. The right guardrails, okay, to control it. All right. Anybody else? And know any policymakers out there? What are they thinking about? Sir, you in front. Personal security. Okay, good answer. Anyone else? Too much trust too quick. Okay, I'll give you that. I think there's probably some truth to that. Training people optimally to use it. You in the back, sir. Adoption. It's a learning curve, right? Human AI interface. That sounds complicated. I agree, though. Okay. We could go on and on. One more. Fear of losing jobs. Yeah, we hear that, right? As we talk to clients, developers, investors, and especially policymakers of everything, and these are all important. These are challenges, they're concerns, but the biggest concern is how to power the AI data centers. The power and the water. There are additional considerations. Here's a list of these. Again, I'll send out the notes to anyone who wants them so you can read through these in more detail. This is a quote that I think is worth mentioning. You never know what the future may hold until you quit what isn't working for you. I'm going to focus my discussion, the majority of my discussion today, on power. Because it is the concern, it is the reason that policymakers are staying up at night. They're losing sleep. They're trying to figure out how to power AI without overwhelming the grid, without raising rates for their constituents, without destroying the water supply, because water is almost as big a concern as power. Did you guys know that a 500 megawatt AI data center uses 1.5 million gallons of water a day to cool the servers, to keep it cool? That's a serious concern, especially in some places where there's not a lot of water. So this dilemma is kind of a two-edged sword of water and power. So I was going to have this exercise, but we decided to pass on it because of time. But let me do this real quick. If everybody could put your arm out like this, kind of up in the air, and make flex your bicep, okay? I just want to see who has big arms here. Who has guns? Timothy, I see you looking at yours. You're like, they were big last time I looked at them. Okay. Anybody feel like you're in pretty good shape Tim, why don't you come on? You look like you're pretty fit. Why don't you come on? Timothy. Timothy from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, right? Come around. So go ahead, walk over here, and then walk back down. And let's see if you can pick up that speaker there for us. Yeah. You can do it. I have faith in you. Don't hurt your back. Okay, well, I'm putting you on the spot here. Obviously, that's impossible, right? It's either unwieldy, it's maybe too heavy. Even though you look in pretty good shape, you're fit, you got abs, which I don't, but I used to. The thought of him having to do that by himself is an analogy of the states in the US, the countries around the world, corporations, hospitals, and others trying to do AI alone, trying to do it in the way that they're doing it. Now, if I got 3 more of you up here and they each grabbed a corner, they could probably pick that up and move it, right? You see them bringing in the chairs and setting them up. One person doesn't move one of those stacks of chairs, of 10 chairs. It's probably 400 pounds of chairs. But a couple of people or a person with a dolly can move them easily. Thank you, Tim. You can go sit back down. Let's give him a round of applause. My point is this. If we want to empower AI, and this applies in anything we do, in our businesses in general, if we want to power it, we've got to work together. We've got to help lift the load, right? We've got to share in that load. It's easier, it's faster, it's safer, and it's less costly. Obviously, if we have a tool like a dolly, we could move this or move the chairs. We need a tool to help us get there, maybe multiple tools. What's interesting is when you start to use the right tools, which starts with asking the right questions and working as a team, collaborating, sharing the workload, opening our minds, doing the right thing in the right way. What's interesting is ripple effects start to happen. They start to grow like a mushroom. I used to call it a ripple effect. Now I call it a snowball effect because the snowball is rolling, getting larger as it goes down the hill. AI is most definitely doing that. But if we can collaborate, amazing things can happen. And if we can let go of what we're holding on to. You never know what the future holds until you quit what isn't working. And we're going to get into some ways to do that. So we just published the second edition of a book called Empower AI. What this is it's a playbook for policymakers, investors, AI developers, really anyone who wants to develop and be a part of AI, be successful at AI. This book is written for them. It's a step-by-step playbook. It says what to do, how to do it to empower AI. It's not my first book, just the latest one. It literally was released this week. I've written a few different books. I've contributed to books, at least. I've written chapters in them. I'm working on a 4th one right now called The Profit Path. The 2 in the middle were both international bestsellers. The first one I was asked to contribute to. I wrote the introduction, got to be on the cover, and it's about CEOs whose companies are making a difference. See, in our company, we try to do more than just make income. We try to make an impact. I have a weekly podcast or radio show, as she mentioned, called Finding Certainty. I'm a U.S. Army veteran. Our company has veterans from every branch of the service as part of our company. And we just started a new company called Certainty Veterans to help them access their benefits. By the way, all those headshots are made by AI. not just recently, I was inducted into Who's Who in American Business. And just yesterday, this article came out called Global Icons. We're doing some good things. We're turning a lot of heads. Our profit consulting firm, Certainty Management, is a profitability firm. As I said, we help clients make more and keep more. Certainty Global is a technology company. That's where we're working in AI and in other areas, medical devices, alternative energy, etc. And then Certainty Veterans. I also own a company called Certainty Holdings. Our secret to success has been two things. Number one, try to get behind trends. We look for waves. We look for perfect storms. If you can be in the right place at the right time with a company or with an industry, with a movement, like the dot-com age back in the 80s, the internet, crypto, blockchain, obviously AI. If you can be right place, right time, amazing things can happen. The second thing we've done is we try to think big. We are the #1 dealer in the country out of 3,500 dealers for a company called Remote Care Today. It's working with senior health care. Remote Care Today serves seniors who are over 65 or on Medicare. They access what's called remote patient monitoring and chronic care management, etc. I don't know if you knew this, but 13,000 people a day are turning 65. That's filling up Yankee Stadium in New York every 3 days. We decided to get in front of that wave. But we didn't just go and knock on doctors' doors and try to sign them up one by one. We went after associations. We brought on a group with 125,000 counselors, another group with 500,000 physicians, another group with one of the largest databases in the country. That's how we've done this. But the biggest trend that we will probably ever be a part of is AI, empowering AI. It will create generational wealth for people who are involved in it. And I keep letting go of past thoughts. Are you still following me as they flutter to the ground? Past habits, past mindsets, past practices, you have to keep evolving. You have to get behind trends, you have to think big, and you have to let go. There's usually 3 kinds of obstacles, if you will, or hurdles that you have to overcome. If you want to succeed at AI or at anything, you usually run into naysayers or parties that aren't really on board, right? We've all been there. Anybody in sales here? Raise of hands. I've been in sales for 40 years. When I started my company, I started it because, well, I'd worked for a lot of different employers over the years, and there were things I liked and things I didn't like. Finally, we said, why don't we start a company and we keep all the things we like and get rid of the things we don't like, right? Go figure. It's not rocket science, but it worked. We started Certainty Management 7 years ago. This is my 7th year as a company and my 57th year as a person. It's my 57th year, so it's my favorite number. So anyway, the first hurdle or challenge or impediment you run into are people who are just unsure how to start. They are uninformed, they're uneducated. That's why we come to conferences like this, to learn, right? To learn new things. So if we can help somebody who is struggling or maybe just ignorant, maybe just not up to speed, right? We can help them to break through. We can help them enter that industry and become who they want to be, right? Oftentimes they don't even know what they don't know. Just last night, funny example. This weekend, I got here Saturday, wanted to be here early, and I was laying on my bed studying this talk, kind of putting some thoughts together, tweaking it a little bit, and my shoulder just was hurting, and I couldn't figure out why. I kept adjusting, and I lay on my back and lay on my side, and my arm was falling asleep. was like, what is going on? I was in a comfortable bed, nice pillows. Finally realized I was laying on my laptop. I did not even realize I slipped it under my pillow when I went to lunch and came back and laid on it. It's an example of what we do. We're not being effective. We're not being productive. We're not accomplishing what we can. We don't even know that we could be doing more. And it happens all the time. My arm was falling asleep. My back was hurting, and I didn't even know why. When I figured it out, I felt stupid. But I fixed it. Our book, The Empower AI, talks about these 3 phases. The first one is power production. There are different kinds of production, kinds of power that can be created, and there's kinds being created now. But it is woefully ill-equipped to handle the demand that AI has. An AI data center requires as much power as tens of thousands of homes. One AI data center. People don't realize every time we do a chat GPT search, it requires significantly more power than a Google search. You can ask the same question. Chat GPT will require significantly more power. I'm going to tell you about how we're addressing this in a way that we had to let go of some previous ideas, embrace new relationships, and it's changing how we power AI. Phase 2 is energy efficiency. This is capturing power that is already being produced. It's being wasted. The US, we have something called Energy Star. An Energy Star claims that 10 to 30% of the energy in commercial buildings is being wasted on a daily basis. It is millions and millions of megawatts of power, just by lights being left on, faulty filtration systems, et cetera, et cetera. So let's produce more power, and I'll tell you how we're doing it, and then let's recover and capture and reutilize the power that's being wasted while we're waiting for new infrastructure to be built. All across America, all around the world, countries are developing new infrastructure to power AI. Modular nuclear, coal-fired plants, solar, and other things. But those take time and they take money. These first 2 are much more quick. They're less expensive and less efficient. We're not saying that you should, just so you know, we use hydrogen technology as phase 1. We're not saying you should use hydrogen technology in place of nuclear or in place of something else, but use it as a stopgap. Use it in the interim. Use it as phase 1. And I'll tell you why. Energy efficiency, don't use it in place of new infrastructure, but use it as an interim measure. And we'll talk about why. Again, these are pages you're not going to read right now. We're not going to go into them in detail. You can review them afterwards, but this talks about hydrogen as both a primary and a backup power. It's clean, it's efficient, it's safe, it's less expensive. I can have a 100 megawatt plant up in 6 months. 6 to 9 months. We can do a 500 megawatt plant in a year. A gig in 18 months. 1,000 megawatt plant in about 18 months. 2 gigs in about 2 years. We went to we listened in on a legislative session in Utah about 2 weeks ago. State in the Midwest, or in the Western United States. And they were talking about this nuclear project they have that they've already approved and funded, waiting, and they're looking for where to put it. They're considering a place called Brigham City. And in this legislative session, they said, and we should have our training center ready by 2030. And then we can start to look at construction between 2035 and 24. We're sitting there going, that's 15 years from now, and you still don't have power? How about next year? or the year after that. That's what hydrogen technology can do. It's safe, and guess what the byproduct is? Where a 500 megawatt plant requires 1.5 million gallons of water a day, the hydrogen plant produces 750,000 gallons a day as a byproduct. There are a lot of different feedstocks you can use with hydrogen technology. These are the deployment times. These are average prices, depends on the project, the location, the feedstock being used, etc. But this gives you an idea of how it compares to other things that are much more expensive, like nuclear. But one of the cool things about hydrogen is the feedstock can come from multiple sources. The most common is natural gas. It can be byproducts. It can be coal. It can be nuclear. It can even be sewage. It can be wastewater. It can even be salt water. Imagine if we could produce enough power to run the AI that we need and clean up the sewage or the wastewater we need to, and produce water. Phase 2 is talking about harvesting the hidden grid. Our claim, there is no energy shortage. There is enough power there that is currently being wasted. We know how to recapture it. We know how to reutilize it. These pages we'll let you read at a later date. This is an example of if, let's say your water pressure was low and you couldn't figure out why. You're trying to build, say, a gigantic water park. The plumber says you need to put in new water mains, new copper piping, a reservoir. Second plumber says, well, why don't we cap the geyser that's going off in your backyard first? Seems like a no-brainer. The second reason, while we're waiting for phase 3 infrastructure to be built, the second reason is people are unmotivated. Some people aren't. They're not motivated to make a difference, although we are finding that this is not the case. There is an urgency for this. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago with a senator who called us back in 20 minutes when he heard what we did and booked a meeting for us 2 days later with a $30 billion project. About $7 billion of it is hydrogen technology. You don't get meetings with senators in 2 days to discuss projects that they needed yesterday. But that's what we got. Some people just play a victim. They fall into this victim role. We call it living below the line. They say, confused, tell me what to do. I'll wait and see. I'm going to cover my tail. They point fingers. They ignore and deny. It's not my job. These are victim patterns. It happens too often in business. It's definitely happening in AI. Where if we can live above the line and ask this very important question, what else can we do? We see it, we own the problem, we solve it, and we do it. Some people just are unwilling, right? They're arrogant or biased or whatever the case might be. It reminds me of this sketch by Jim Gaffigan. Anybody know Jim Gaffigan? Raise a hand. Maybe not. He's an American comedian. But he talks about McDonald's. He says, we've all seen the documentaries. We know it's not healthy. We don't even know where the beef comes from. I'll take 2 Big Macs, fry, and a gallon of Diet Coke. Sometimes we know, but we still don't want to do, right? But that's okay. Sustainability is an issue, and hydrogen addresses that as well. In the past, profitability and sustainability are a challenge. They compete. They don't always get along. But with this approach, you can have your cake and eat it too. Keep the conservationists, the environmentalists happy. You don't have to fight environmental lawsuits the entire time you're doing your project because they love your project. This shows you how just comparing solar with hydrogen technology, a hydrogen plant takes 20 acres, produce 500 megawatts, where solar takes 2,500. Significantly more powerful. There's biases out there. We run into them. This is my family. I want to talk about bias for a minute. My brother is adopted from Samoa, my sister from Korea. I'm the white guy in the middle. They're like the bread, I'm like the mayonnaise. Our family looks a little bit like the United Nations. And we've dealt with bias and prejudice at times growing up. This is us today. Not everybody there, but as they get older. We run into bias with what we do. We run into big business that thinks it's competitive. They feel threatened by what we're offering. But our point and the message we're trying to share is that they don't need to. We can work in collaboration. While they're waiting 5, 10, 15 years to build their nuclear and start producing power, we can help be a stopgap with hydrogen and energy recapture. Let them build their coal-fired plants. We can power AI in the interim. That's kind of how we feel. I mentioned my brother. He's now a CEO of a healthcare compliance company, but when he was a kid, you see him on the left there, he was kind of a hippie, he was kind of a rebel. And one day he was riding his friend's motorcycle, no shirt, no shoes, 14 years old, doing a wheelie down the road, and cops started chasing him. He outran the cops for a little while, finally ditched the motorcycle, jumped in a canal, and floated downstream. This is in Orem, Utah, if you know where that is. About an hour later, doorbell rings, and he looks at the curtain, and there's 2 policemen standing there. And he thinks, oh, crap. He grabs the scissors and cuts his hair. Cuts off about a foot of hair. Looked like Eddie Van Halen before he cut his hair. He still got busted. His friend had ratted him out. But that was the turning point for him to become who he is today. Very accomplished CEO, just sold a company, made millions of dollars. Change does not have to be that drastic. That's my point. He's a good guy. But he had to go through a pretty big drastic change to cut his hair and almost went to jail as a kid because of his decisions. There are different groups that we can help. We don't have the time to go into them. But let me just close with this. AI is benefiting individuals in multiple ways. It's benefiting managers by giving them tools. It's getting executives, CEOs. It's benefiting all of us and can do so more quickly, more efficiently, and more cost effectively. We even have unlimited funding if someone needs it, and it comes out of Dubai. Go figure. We're seeing political candidates behind us, governors, senators, and others, and making this their platform because it's creating jobs, it's creating taxes, tax savings, and they don't have to fight environmental lawsuits while they do it. Just real quick, by a raise of hands, who's been married for at least 10 years here in the room? How about 15? 20? Got any 25? 30? Anybody over 30 years? Wow. 35? No? I think you're the winner, 30 years. I show this picture because it's all about commitment, right? It's about trust. It's about working together, communicating, asking the right questions, doing the right thing in the right way at the right time. You don't stay married 30 years those things. It's about the time value of money, and that is what we provide. Can we, in fact, empower AI both profitably and sustainably, not just today, but tomorrow? The answer is yes. I've got a one-pager I'll hand out, anyone who wants it. That's the document on the left if you'd like to order our book. Here's a QR code. Feel free to scan it. It has all my details. Be happy to continue the conversation here or later. Thank you for listening. And thank you for watching me not fall off the stage. I'm glad I didn't. I'm grateful to be here. And so nice to meet you all. Thank you.